And good morning, everybody. What's going on? We are back for another edition of the Rise and Rush podcast, where we preview all sorts of games around the NFL. We talk about fantasy football, and we talk about betting as well. So we're back. I think it's been like 3 weeks since we've done an episode because obviously conflicting schedules. It is the holidays, so stuff does come in the way. But John is very cheerful with his little hat right there. Luca's going to be changing his camera, but what's up, everybody? Just a reminder before I get into first thoughts. We have the call-in show tonight at 8:30, which is the final call-in show of 2023. So be sure to attend. And even if you're not going to call in, questions in the chat, those are always helpful to prolong the stream. Tomorrow is a big day, the final Boys in the Big Apple live stream of the 2023 calendar year. So, we're going to do some sports talk, but we're going to do some, sentimental talk, sure. Kind of recap the year of, talk about the achievements, talk about what's going on. We have a big announcement coming tomorrow as well. So that's going to be really fun to announce. I really can't wait. I've already made a promo video about it, but just a lot of stuff coming. And of course, the video content is going to keep going for you guys during the break. So we're going to push up. We're going to try to get to 1,700 before the new year. We got 14 days. We got 24 subs to go. I think we could get there. But nonetheless, I do want to throw it over to one of the two Jet fans on the panel, Mr. John.
Do I have to be a Jets fan?
And one of the Flying Gavone brothers.
Yeah. The what?
He's stealing Sopranos references, is what
I didn't hear what he said, but nevertheless.
The Flying Gavone brothers.
Oh, okay. Very, very good. But shout out to y'all. But before we get into today's little discussion of our football day, because we all got the previews, we got fantasy, we got betting advice, okay? Guys, it's very rainy and windy out along the East Coast. So
shitty weather,
which means we're going to look at a lot of unders. But anyway, anywho and anyway, this man to the left of the panel made a Yankees video. Jordan Hicks, go check it out. I made a Mets video. Steve Cohen, check it out.
Off pretty well. So, and if you're a new sub and you're not speaking in here, welcome.
Yeah, of course. So make sure to go check those out. Sub to the channel, comment. We always take those. But we got a whole slate of football today. I think this is going to be the last one we do because the next 2 Sundays are holidays. So, Chris, we got Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
Next week, the following week is New Year's. So we're going to coordinate how we put our predictions in. And we'll obviously, I think what we can do is we'll probably put our predictions out on a graphic, send them out on Twitter, and also the fantasy advice and betting advice too.
Yeah.
A good idea.
Exactly. And, I have to say these picks so far this week, screw the Steelers. And you know what? I'm the one that fired Brandon Staley for because I picked the Chargers to beat the Raiders. And
you picked the Chargers?
Look, it's not like the Raiders are all world beaters, okay?
Dude, come on.
They literally have the same record.
Easton Stick.
Aiden O'Connell. It's that much of a... Now, granted, he did prove me wrong, but
John,
nevertheless...
This might be one of your worst picks of the year, but keep going.
Before we go into it more, we'll go down to Luca right here.
Hey, Luca.
What's up, all? If you're asking about me getting hyped about Aaron Rodgers, don't ask at all. I'm not hype at all. But anyways, I told him I would throw him out. If he started playing that bullshit. I told him I would throw him out, and I did throw him out. But anyways,
it's 9:30. We can't even get through openings without you two fighting.
Anyways, but last Sunday for our Rise and Rush stream, same with the call-in show. Please check it out. I'm excited to talk a lot of football today. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty, talking about playoff positioning and all of that, especially with these games. I know John's covering Cowboys, Bills. Bills are on the outside looking in. I've got 2 division winners right now with the Jaguars and the Ravens, and Alex is doing his game. But there's a lot of content to pay attention to, so hope you guys are here to appreciate it like we appreciate your viewership.
Also, by the way, Lucas, since you failed to mention it, I am doing the Eagles-Seahawks game.
Okay.
Battle of the Birds, the battle for the playoffs, which I believe the Eagles are they're second place now in the NFC East?
I'll check that.
Are they?
Well, I mean, Dallas beat them, or
Yes, the Eagles. You're right, because Dallas beat them last week, and they are both 10-3. And
it always goes off recency.
well, it's actually because they split this year. So
and whoever wins
Cowboys,
that later matchup gets the tiebreaker.
The tiebreaker
Conference record.
Yeah, the tiebreaker is your conference record, and the Cowboys have a better conference record, I believe, because the Cowboys have only lost 2. The Cardinals, which is 1 loss, the Niners, that's 2, and then who's their third loss? Their third loss came to Philly, and then Philly. Actually, I think it's not. I think it's division record, not conference. I think it's division record because
Could be.
because the Cowboys actually have more NFC losses than the Eagles, because the Eagles lost to the Jets.
Yeah, true. The Cowboys have a lesser winning percentage against the conference, but you're right about the division.
So it has to be. I think it's divisional record.
All right. Without further ado, let's throw it to Cowboys Bills. As John said, the Cowboys, they're top of the division. The Bills are on the outside looking in, and I would presume it's going to be really shitty cold weather over in Buffalo.
Yeah, boys, we're taking this one in Buffalo for the first preview. Okay, so first off, let's just go into the storylines here. Obviously, Cowboys coming off a mighty high win over their rival, the Philadelphia, the Sheagles, or the Eagles, however you want to call them. And Buffalo getting a big win themselves on a controversial call, or not really controversial, but a big headline call against the Kansas City Chiefs. So this should be a very enticing matchup. And, the Cowboys, Dak has been really good this year. Storyline is, will he be continuing his MVP-esque season against these tougher matchups? He's actually second in betting odds to win the MVP last time I checked GM. And then, with the storyline with the Bills, is the Bills' time coming to an end, or do they have the extra fight? Remember, they are currently outside looking in. Sean McDermott, I think it was either 2 weeks ago, had some porous comments about 9/11.
Fucking clown out.
That was clownery. But nevertheless, Sean, this is the Bills, saying, hey, if they miss the playoffs, Sean McDermott might not be the coach next year in Buffalo.
Can I ask you all a question? And this does relate to the game a little bit, but more towards the Bills. Do you think Sean McDermott deserves to get fired outside of the comments?
That depends if they make playoffs or not.
Okay. Luca?
I would say the same.
That really does depend.
Because just like you could say defensive injuries and then all that, but something just doesn't feel right in Buffalo.
Yeah, so something isn't right, I should say, in Buffalo. But you know what? We'll start off on a positive note, and even though it pains me to say this because everyone hates the Cowboys.
I'm sorry to interrupt, John. I forgot to include this. If you are on Twitter, you can now put comments in. Through Twitch, obviously, you could do that before. YouTube, you could do that before. Twitter, you can now put, there's a little live chat on Twitter. I'm sorry, I had to add that in, but go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's pretty cool. But nevertheless, however you watch it, make sure to comment. But we'll start in a positive note. The mighty high Dallas Cowboys, the quote-unquote America's team, although maybe not so. But this year they've been kicking ass. And, we'll start with some positives because, you know what, I'm just full of positive energy anyway. So one guy I wanted to highlight, and you know what, you can look however you want at this offense. Okay, obviously Dak, obviously CeeDee Lamb. They bring in Brandon Cooks, but let's just talk about this offense and then where I'm going to lead into it. So it's and you know what, Dallas, they have their Hall of Fame players, right? And that's why they've been so popularized, whether it was Emmitt Smith or Roger Staubach or even Jason Witten to a lesser extent. But before I ramble on, I want to talk about one, their pass catching, right? Between CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, and one guy who I really love is Jake Ferguson, right? They have been really good in crucial games, in my opinion. They have been the three guys that have been kind of utilized a lot, especially in recent weeks. But I want to talk about Jake Ferguson because not only is he a good blocker in my opinion, but he's also a very good pass catcher, and he can be used for. He's got a big frame. He can be used as a weapon in the red zone. And the Dallas Cowboys, since I'm not counting the games this week because this is week 15, but I'm saying since the end of week 14, they actually lead the NFL with red zone attempts. So not only do they drive the ball down the field, but they get a lot of attempts there, and they've really improved on converting them as well because their touchdown conversion rate, it used to be at a 56%. That has risen up to a 71% over their last 3 games. So that has a lot to do, in my opinion, with the ascension of Jake Ferguson, a fourth rounder of last year's draft. I believe he was a Wisconsin Badger.
Yes, he was.
Because I remember watching him in college. But he's not only a good run blocker, like I said, but he can also catch passes. And, it's funny because they had a staple there with Jason Witten. Then, there was a lot of talk of Dalton Schultz. Once he left, he's now in Houston. He's been reliable for them. But before I go on, shout out Armin, Barbara, and Coach Ed. Peace and blessings. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful football Sunday, although it's, again, still going to be
weather outside.
Yeah, shitty weather for the East Coast if you live on the East Coast. But nevertheless, like I said, Dalton Schultz going to Texas. Ferguson, really the first year as a starter, drafted last year. And, there's very good energy from Jake Ferguson, in my opinion. And I found this tweet, right? I think it's from one of the Cowboys. I don't know if he's a beat writer or if he's just an analyst. But I have it here. His numbers in 23. So the pre-bye. So they played 6 games before the bye, 7 games after. Jake Ferguson, 21 catches, 190 yards, and a touchdown before the bye. Since the bye in the last 7 games, 30 catches, 380 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So that has been, a very good ascension there. And then, he's also come in clutch and, very crucial.
What's up from Twitter?
Shout out to Peter. Thank you for joining from Twitter. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, comment, and question.
I will say this, right? This has to do with the Cowboys. I mean, obviously, we know of Jason Witten. We know what Hall of Famer he is. It seems like out of nowhere, the Cowboys always have some friggin' tight end that always destroys.
That's true.
Like I remember his homecoming, his outcome game, like his magnum opus. Blake Jarwin was 3 touchdowns against the Giants in 2018. Then Dalton Schultz, he leaves, he goes to the Texans, and now you got Jake Ferguson. So it seems like they have had really good tight end production over the years. And I think the tight ends coach, now don't count me on this, pretty sure the tight ends coach is actually former Giants coach. Yes, he is, Lundo Wells. But John, keep going.
Right. And, we've even seen it. Remember, Jake Ferguson had that when we called the game against Seattle a few weeks back. He had that touchdown over the horrible Jamal Adams, as me and Luca like to know. As I see him smiling because we know about Jamal Adams. And
we'll later.
Yeah, we will. Nevertheless, through week 14, here's his total stats: 51 catches on the air, 570 yards, 5 touchdowns for Jake Ferguson. And like Alex said, whether it's Jason Witten, Blake Jarwin, or Dalton Schultz, the Cowboys, they really have valued the tight end position. I think Jake Ferguson has been a very good player for them this year to go along with those receivers they have. There's also another person that I do want to talk about. And usually we don't really talk about players from this position. But how about the freaking kicker, Brandon Aubrey? Dude is like he's like a fantasy football, machine because who knew that this would be the best thing the Cowboys might have done in the offseason? It was solidifying their kicker position. Do you guys know that last week, Brandon Aubrey
59 and 60.
What happened?
I was saying, didn't he hit a?
Yes, he had 59-60. But last week, Brandon Aubrey, including field goals and extra points, outscored the Eagles by himself.
I mean, I'm very lucky to have him.
He was 4-4 from field goals and 3 extra points. That was more than the Eagles by himself. So,
and to think that he missed 2 extra points against the Giants in the opening game, and then
Didn't he come from the USFL or the XFL?
He might have.
I think it's from like the USFL. I think you're right. But how about that? They've had some tough shit in the past with kickers, especially when they had Brett Maher missing in playoff games. Good to see the Cowboys actually solidify that position. Just want to quickly throw that out. And then, you look at the what else the Cowboys have going for them, right? Obviously, Dak Prescott has been phenomenal as a quarterback. He has proven me wrong because he's playing like a top quarterback in this league. And, last year, Dak led the league in interceptions despite missing 5 games. But he's vastly improved his ball security this year. He only has 6 picks on the year. So going from 15 to 6, I imagine he might have like maybe 2, 3 more at most, toward the end of this year. But, the drop-off there has been pretty incredible, right? And, it was a narrative that he was a gunslinger where he was like destroyed for his turnovers. But you look at these 2 quarterbacks, and not only, and I was dead wrong about this when we were doing like maybe quarterback rankings or having these discussions in the offseason, Dak is not only a little bit better than Josh Allen, he's numbers and miles ahead of Josh Allen, because Josh Allen, as we know, still has turnover problems, as he'll give you maybe 2 or 3 bad plays a game for all the good he does. And it is really just it's just disastrous sometimes. Some of the plays we watch are just pretty bad.
And I will say this, I don't think there's like a drastic change in like the interception count for Josh Allen, like maybe fumbles, but people will think, or maybe Bills fans, I don't know, they'll think, okay, yeah, his interception count hasn't gone up, but you have to look when those interceptions are, what point of the game and who the opponent is.
They're always at a bad point in the game. They always somehow seem to cost them. And then, continuing on this offense, right, with the Cowboys, they just faced a team, with the Eagles who have like 2 number 1 receivers with Brown and Devontae Smith, right? Now, CeeDee Lamb's a number 1, but Brandon Cooks has been a very good number 2. He had a very slow start, but he should definitely surpass the total amount of yards he had last year with Houston. He's at 534 yards, 5 touchdowns, 39 receptions on the year. And, with CeeDee Lamb, he's one of the top receivers in this game. He's caught 96 balls, 1,253 yards, and 8 touchdowns on the year. So, say what you want, but those 2 are a very definitely duo that I don't think gets nearly the credit. And I think CeeDee Lamb is a very undervalued receiver. I liked him out of his days out of Oklahoma. I think that draft was 2019?
2020.
2020?
I think it was 2020 because I had Judy, I had Ruggs.
2020. It was Ruggs, Judy,
Denzel Mims,
Jefferson. So that was that draft. But that they have been an excellent duo at the receiver spot. And, combine that with a Jake Ferguson, combine that with some good running back play from Rico Dowell and Tony Pollard, and you got a very deadly offense in this league, which I haven't even read the stats yet, but we will after I talk more. But get to some comments here, as I see the comment section is going.
What's up, Lou, in the chat? What's up, Coach? Obviously, Coach Ed. I'm gonna throw his channel in the chat because he always does some good work, and he's part of Heart of the City.
Yeah.
The shitty weather is the best weather. Us fatties love it because we're in the trenches and fighting help us keep warm. I love Coach Ed. Them bum cowpokes love some tight ends.
They do.
There was one I wanted to get to. Maybe I missed it. Let's see. Armand had a comment. Oh, I just ordered something from Target. I'm hoping I can pick it up today and punish myself. And if the Jets win, I'll punish myself on tonight's call.
Oh my God. Well, that is a big if. Don't worry. They won't win. Come on, it's the Jets. But anyway, remember, guys, we have a call-in show 8:30. So if you guys want to call in with us, go ahead. We're going to be here. And, now we'll go over to Buffalo before I even read the team stats, right? We'll go over to Buffalo, right? And before we dive into their team a little, let's look at the NFL standings really quick because it's playoff season and they're a team on the outside looking in. And right now, Buffalo is actually 9th in the AFC. The loss by Pittsburgh and Denver last night actually helped them, but they are fighting as there's a dogfight in the AFC because there is a couple of teams with 6 losses. Let's look from 6 down. The Bengals 8-6, Colts 8-6. Both teams won yesterday, so they are both in the playoffs right now. But Houston at 7-6, Buffalo at 7-6. They sit 8-9. So it is going to be a dogfight for the AFC wild card picture, in my opinion. And that just proves how crucial these games are for Buffalo because they not only have to win pretty much a lot of their games left, they have to hope other teams lose and vice versa for the teams facing them. But let's go into some guys that, they kind of need to, have a good game. And I talked about special teams for the Dallas Cowboys, and the reason because I'm also going to talk a little about the special teams for the Buffalo Bills. I know it's not the most exciting, but special teams wins games, guys. The Bills have a really good punter in Sam Martin, right? The Cowboys offense is really good. But they just they'll drive up and down the field and score easily. And their defense, what's scary is they'll create turnovers left and right. Deron Bland, obviously a pick machine, but you also got Michael Parsons on that defense. I think it's really key that the Bills win field position matchup with Sam Martin because they need to get all these punts inside the 20. In the past 2 games, right? Sam Martin's actually had 4 punts in each game. Against the Eagles, he had 3 of his 4 downed inside the 20, and that helped the Bills, really early in that game, even though they lost to the Eagles 2 weeks ago. So that's going to be something they have to do against these Cowboys because, they're going to outman you offensively and defensively with all the star firepower. So you got to get every advantage you can if you're Buffalo. And nevertheless, we'll move on from special teams because there are some other players or people that I think need to have a big game. And one player I want to look at, or a position I do want to look at, is the Buffalo Bills secondary because that has been an area of concern over the last few weeks. No Micah Hyde in this game, which is a very key loss. And that means Taylor Rapp is going to have to step it up today because, without Micah Hyde, their veteran safety, I believe it was a neck injury he had last week. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But, they bring in Taylor Rapp. He's going to start, right? But they're going to need their safety help over the top because a lot of these passes to Brandon Cooks is going to be over the top. He's going to be more their deep
I don't
threat.
know if Cooks is going to play because I'm looking at the injury report right now. He was limited on Wednesday, did not practice the Friday and Thursday illness.
Well, if there is an illness, then, hopefully he's good for the Cowboys, but that would be a huge loss for them, in my opinion. And nevertheless, they're still going to need help over the top, whether Cooks does play. You still got Michael Gallup, Jalen Tolbert, Devontae Turpin, some very good depth guys for their role. So I think they're going to need to – and Dak is, like I said, he's limited to turnovers, but he's still a gunslinger. Coach Ed, I'm going to get to your question. I promise. We're going to star that. How does the Bills O-line match up versus Dallas? I promise. But they're going to actually need all the help they can get in that secondary. And, it's funny because Coach Ed kind of brought it to the next talking point. We got to look at the Battle of the Trenches game. How Bills offensive line against the Cowboys defensive line. So one other injury note, Jonathan Hankins, their nose tackle is out, but the Cowboys have a very strong defensive line, in my opinion. And you know what? We're actually going to read some of the stats, team stats. Cowboys second in passing, 11th in rushing, and I think 11th. I accidentally wrote the wrong number here, so now I gotta stupidly go check where they rank in point scoring. So give me 1 sec. Do apologize.
But I could probably fill in a little bit. So The man with the master plan. Appreciate it, Coach Ed. But as far as the O-line,
they are first. They are first
yeah.
in point scoring offense. Then it's fifth in passing defense, 13th in rushing defense, and fourth in defense for points. The Bills, fifth in passing, 10th in rushing, fifth in points scored, and then their defense, passing defense, 10th, rushing 19th, and points 6th. But Alex, you were saying? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they've been, I would say, Deion Dawkins obviously is a penalty machine. I would say they're an average O-line. I think they can be manipulated this game. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and not Chauncey Golston, but Dorrance Armstrong are 3 guys I'm looking at. Never looking at the interior guys. Like maybe I think that could honestly be a weakness for Dallas because Jonathan Hankins is out. Mozzie Smith is playing. And also you have Osa Digizua, who's been really good for them. But I think that could be the only area of weaknesses up the middle running, which they like to do with James Cook, and just interior rush, which I'm pretty sure, honestly, you got 3 rushers that I just mentioned in Armstrong, Parsons, and Lawrence. Shift one of those guys to the inside, and you'll have some favorable matchups.
Right, and you just mentioned that with James Cook, who's had a very good season, and that's one of the matchups I wanted to look into with James Cook because he has been, Buffalo's really never had a real running back or running game with Josh Allen, and he's the kind of player, like you said, he's a hard-nosed runner. He likes to hit they do a lot of inside rushing with him because that's just his game. He's a powerful runner. He's not necessarily the biggest guy. He's 5'11", 190, but he runs much bigger than he plays. And so, you look at his numbers this year. Actually, I have them right in front of me. So this year, James Cook, right? He's at 789 yards on 163 attempts. So he's actually 60 yards per game, but also 4.8 yards per carry. So he has been, a very good runner for them. He's got 3 touchdowns on the season. So not bad there. He's also been a very decent pass catcher. 38 receptions on the year, 391 yards for them. And, he's got 3 receiving touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, I should say, on the season because they don't really use him as a goal line. Shout out to Kenny. What is up, man? Thank you for joining us on the Sunday morning. But nevertheless, with James Cook, he's a guy that they've been utilizing very well. And, you mentioned the loss. I think it is going to be a big loss for no Jonathan Hankins, who was very good at a nose tackles position. But next man up, Dallas has drafted a lot of good depth. Now, Mozzie Smith has struggled, right? He's a first-round pick this year from, I think was he Michigan, if I'm not mistaken?
I think he was Michigan.
I think he was first-round pick, yeah.
Yeah, he was last year's Michigan team. I liked him out of the draft. He's kind of struggled. Maybe he just hasn't he's been more of a rotational guy. So that is an area that the Bills can exploit right there. If you're James Cook, maybe run at the rookie defensive tackle. And then the other guy whose name I know who he is. I always just mess it up because it's like a weird name to pronounce.
Odigizua.
Osa Odigizua, who has been
That's
excellent.
not Odigizua, it's Odigizua.
Odigizua.
There you go.
Odigizua. There we go. Try saying that 5 times fast. But nevertheless, Odigizua has actually been really good. His overall player grade for PFF is actually at an 86 exact. So he's been really solid. He's got 3 sacks, but he's actually a very good run defender. And that's why the Cowboys are so good at stopping the run. He really does make a lot of plays in the backfield. I know they like to also move Micah Parsons on the interior sometimes, as opposed to being a linebacker or on the edge, because he moves around quite often. But Odigizua has been a hell of a run stopper for them. And then I mentioned also another matchup. This is more on the outside, right? And this is the opposite way. I mentioned how good CeeDee Lamb has been, right? All the good numbers for them. But someone's got to be, shadowing the other receiver. Sorry, I meant I don't know why I said CeeDee Lamb. I meant Stephon Diggs. So
Right.
you can put that there because the return to Buffalo is Stephon Gilmore because he was very good for them there. Stephon Gilmore, it's funny. Everyone thought he was more of this kind of washed up corner, right? But he's had an excellent bounce back, and not to mention, we mentioned how good Deron Bland has been. But Stephon Gilmore has pretty much been the number one corner. In my opinion, he's got 71 targets toward him, only 38 receptions allowed. So half those throws aren't even making it to him. He's got 2 picks on the year, right? And you think no Trayvon Diggs, right? So you think that secondary would be weaker, but the Cowboys, like I said, excellent in their passing defense, top 5 in the NFL. He's a big reason for that. He shadows a lot of the receivers. I think he struggled in the game against Seattle as that whole secondary did, but Stephon Gilmore is a top-notch guy in this league. And, you look at Stephon Diggs, right? There's times where he doesn't get the ball, times where he does, but we know how big of a threat he is on the season. And Stephon Diggs is 87 catches, 993 yards, 8 touchdowns. So, say what you want. I know there's been some chatter in Buffalo about some dysfunction, but nevertheless, he's still an excellent freaking player. I mean, I'll take him on my team if he doesn't want to come to Buffalo anymore. I mean, you could sign me up for that any day. And Diggs, it's also just been a model of consistency at this point because ever since his days in Minnesota, the last 2 seasons in Minnesota, so the last 5 seasons, he's hit 1,000 yards. Actually, he's hit it. Yeah, he's hit 1,000, at least 1,000 yards. He's going to easily break that this game. He needs 7 more yards for that. So he's been pretty good there. And also, throughout his last 5 years, he's had a catch rate of 60% or better every year. So Stephon Diggs, we all know what a stud player he is. But now I think I'm going to get into the position battles of who I think has the edge. So position battles, I'll go through it real quick because we haven't been doing this in a while. Go for the quarterback. I already said the Cowboys. Dak is better than Josh Allen. It's the truth. He's played better, and he's been a better gunslinger. Running back, I'm going to give that slight edge to the Cowboys just because I like James Cook. He's just not, he's not a goal line threat, and the Cowboys, they can hit you with Tony Pollard or Rico Dowell. So, again, those guys have it. The wideouts, I'm going with the Cowboys, and same thing with the tight end. I raved about how good this group was. Even without Cooks, they have so many playmakers. Offensive line, I'm going to the Cowboys on that one. We mentioned the penalties with Deion Dawkins and some issues at tackle. But also, other than Terrence Steele on the Cowboys offensive line, who's given up like half their sacks on the season, that Cowboys offensive line is still rock solid, led by the guard, Zach Martin. But everyone else is still really good on that offensive line. They might have a top 5 unit. They probably do have a top 5 unit in the league. We look at the defensive line now, and I'm actually going to give this edge to the Buffalo Bills. Not only, I really like the depth here, right? You got Greg Rousseau. Leonard Floyd is a very good rotational pass rusher. Ed Oliver's had a really strong season, right? And it's funny, Von Miller hasn't had the best season, but you hope he gets going down the stretch. So I think that is a very good matchup for the Bills. And then I also like their inside linebackers better too. And if you want to count Parsons as one, because he can play all, fine, but I think he's more of a defensive lineman, edge rusher at this point. But with Buffalo, right, how about the job done by Terrell Bernard and Tyrell Dodson, 2 of the better tacklers in the league, in my opinion. And also they have really done an excellent job stepping up in the absence of Milano at linebacker. So they've done phenomenal work there. Now, here's the edge for the Cowboys on defense, in my opinion. It's got to be in the secondary. I mentioned, Deron Bland and Stephon Gilmore, both at corner. But Malik Hooker is also a very good safety. He's an excellent ball hawk, even in his days in Indianapolis. I really liked him out of his draft class. I thought he'd be I almost thought he would be a superstar, but he's not a superstar, but he's still a hell of a player. And you look at Buffalo's secondary, right? Some weakness without no Micah Hyde. They played okay against Patrick Mahomes, but again, so is kind of everyone, as the Chiefs' offense has been struggling, which I guess is another topic for another day. But no Micah Hyde, so Taylor Rapp's going to get some snaps, probably DeMar Hamlin too. And then the special teams, right? I gave that to the Cowboys. Edge talked about how good Brandon Aubrey is, a freaking phenomenal kicker. And then I also like their return game better, depending on who you put there, because I believe they've been using Kevontae Turpin still for that, but they could also use Rico Dowell if they want. They also signed, or not signed, they also have Deuce Vaughn, the rookie this year, as a return man if possible. But let's go into the predictions, right? I got the Cowboys winning this one. Closer game, lower scoring, 23-20.
We don't. Oh, I thought we were going to start out with stats, but also, by the way,
Oh, sorry. I think it's fine.
There's a couple of comments I want to get to, though. Niner Gang is in here. So Brad's not the only Niner fan in here. He's not the only Niner Yankee fan in here. Niner Gang, what's up, man? I want to hear Yamamoto to the Yankees. You know, funny you say that. The Mets actually had dinner with Yamamoto last night at Steve Cohen's place. Jeremy Hefner was in attendance.
There we go, Steve.
Dave Stearns. And
rise up. Let's go get him.
Don't let the Dodgers do this. I obviously was addressing Lou's comments about the Giants playoffs, and Brad, of course, saying embrace the tank. Listen, it's a win-win situation. By the way, shouts to Bundy. Love the profile picture of Tommy Cutlets. You know, Tommy Cutlets. You know? Got to embrace the Tommy Cutlets. But and I know I'm taking away from John's predictions and all the segment here, but I just wanted to take a minute to talk about this. I know Lou was talking about the playoff stuff. If you go to the New York Times playoff simulator, it gives you actually a good idea of how the Giants can make the playoffs, how they miss the playoffs, whatever. But also as well, if the Giants win today and maybe like 4 teams lose today, they could be in that 7 seed. That's how shit the NFC is.
I love Luca, how he says it like it's going to be such an easy thing. Like, oh, yeah, we have to win, but then 4 other teams lose. All we
need is we don't need.
Yeah, we need you to lose. We need you to lose.
4 teams to lose for that.
Specifically, though, and again, we'll get back to the Bills thing in a second. So I'm looking at the playoff standings. Specifically, these teams have to lose. The Packers, who we have the tiebreaker over, the LA Rams, who play the Commies, the Saints, who are playing, the Falcons, who are playing the Panthers. That's tough, and then the Seahawks against the Steagles. So.
Yeah, the Steagles. You're right.
Coach Ed.
Coach Ed. No, he's coming to Queens. Get out. I'll do you one better. I'll make sure to get a glance at yours and send some better ones. All right, but nevertheless, guys like Niner Gang, Bundy, right? If you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe and leave all your comments and questions. Okay, and make sure to share out because
and if you're on Twitter, follow us.
Yeah, if you're on Twitter, follow us. Right. Hit the
and you can comment on Twitter too, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Like, do it. We're gonna have this in-depth discussion about Yamamoto more tomorrow, I presume, and probably
even a little bit on the call-in show tonight, which is tonight. So if we can
even do that.
You got some
tonight.
Questions? You got some? You want to call in and talk to us? Well, that's tonight.
Yeah,
8:30. But
do that. But that's a little too generous, Niner Gang. But nevertheless.
All right, predictions for score. I think Cowboys are going to win this game. This doesn't seem like a game that Buffalo will win because they always have that like choke energy. I don't think it's going to be high scoring, though. It's going to be rainy weather. Dallas plays in a dome. Give me Dallas 20-10.
20-10? Okay, low scoring.
I think it's an odd opinion.
Low scoring, yeah. Luca, did you say your prediction?
No, I didn't, and I'm going to come out with an outlier. I think the Buffalo Bills are actually going to take this in a surprise.
Ooh.
I say 27-20 Buffalo.
You know, we got Luca predicting his rival going to win. Got me predicting my rival's going to win.
I guess I'm the only
outlier.
Outlier.
It's not picking. Ifs and buts, Alexa. What's up to Evan in the chat? I feel like
what do they say? Ifs and buts. Ifs and buts
were candies and nuts, we'd all have a fucking Merry Christmas.
I'm sorry. Respect. I'm gonna respect. I'm still want Yamamoto in Queens, but I can't outclass Coach Ed. Never.
By the way, folks, we got a low number of likes. Do what G Nation says and hit that like and subscribe button.
Hit that damn like button. Yeah, I'm always distracted by Cohen's bald head. Who cares? He's gonna have a shit ton of money to look at. Who cares? Who cares about the bald head? Cohen will grow out a mullet if he had to. But anyway, because I stupidly skipped over the stat predictions to get to the final score, which doesn't matter. Lead passer today, I'm going with Dak Prescott. He's going to have 275 yards, 1 touchdown thrown today. I don't think it's the greatest weather in Buffalo. I also say he gets picked once.
Yeah, I'm going to Luca, you want to go next?
Sure. Dak, 286 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and say that Dak Prescott gets 249 yards, a touchdown, and an INT.
Okay. Lead rusher today, and I'm only doing this because I think the Bills have a better secondary in term. It's funny with their stats. They have a better secondary in terms of run defense, even though I like their defensive line better. But I'm going with Mr. Tony Pollard. I think it's going to be split. I think Rico is going to get some carries in there. 10 carries, 60 yards for Mr. Tony Pollard.
Okay. What's up to Classy Nasty in the chat? Got some predictions going in here. And also as well, Evan says he's intrigued to watch the video tape, but he's not confident that the Jets will win today with Zach Wilson.
Neither am I personally, Evan. I almost blanked there. But you know what? As I said to Alex, I'll say it to John and the rest of the chat, I'm watching with no emotion. I'm just watching to see what happens. But anyways, back to the Bills and Cowboys.
You can laugh.
If there's a hilarious moment, sure. James Cook, 14 rushes, 86 yards, and a touchdown. John mentioned that Jonathan Hankins is going to be out in that middle of the Dallas front. I think is going to be impacted, especially if Mitch Morse can get some nice blocks up the middle. So I think he gets 14 rushes, 86 yards, and a TD.
All right, so I'm going to say James Cook as well. 14 carries, 97 yards, and a TD.
Okay. Lead receiver today. It's funny. I talked about a bunch of receivers, right? And I did not mention this name once. Going with Dalton Kincaid today. 9 catches, 95 yards for Mr. Kincaid.
I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb, 9 receptions, 115 yards.
Okay.
Let me go Michael Gallup, 7 receptions, 77 yards.
Michael Gallup.
Right.
Interesting.
Michael Gallup.
Yeah, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to be bold here.
I like the boldness. There we go. Lead tackler today. I got the linebacker. I raved about him. Terrell Dodson, 9 tackles.
Okay. Lucas?
I'm going to say Dodson, but 8 tackles.
Let's see. No Micah Hyde. Let me go Taylor Rapp.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 7 tackles. No, I'll go 9 tackles.
Alex was listening to my injury report. I like it.
Yeah. Oh, I had to pay attention, of course.
Lead sack man today. Going with the man, the myth, the legend, Micah Parsons. Got him at 1.5 today. I think he's gonna have some fun with Deion Dawkins.
I'll say the same, but 1 sack for Mr. Parsons.
Yeah, so I'll say DeMarcus Lawrence, 1 sack.
Alex is just being the outlier to be the outlier.
Dak will give the game away. DeVito, yeah, they were both offensive.
Nobody saw that happening.
Yeah, nobody called it.
I called
Buffalo, it. No, you didn't. Buffalo needs to pound the middle of Dallas. Absolutely. Prediction people loses his shit over the Jets lost today. He'll say otherwise, obviously.
Brad,
no, he'll be happy.
You know what?
He's going in the Book of Wonder, isn't he? I will take that.
No. Since it's Christmas time, John should have a nice and naughty list.
Brad's not on any list. He's too feeble to be on any list.
Dallas will force some turnovers, but the Bills offense will come back strong and put around 27 points. Dallas will put up 21. Bills defense has been good lately. Dak throws 2 INTs, 1 for pick 6, has 225 yards. Okay, so some very nice predictions coming in from our fellow chat members. But, gentlemen, before we switch over to the AFC overall, we got any final thoughts on this game?
I gave my thoughts, but if you guys want to.
I think it's a Bills surprise victory. This probably will bounce them back into the playoff picture. Yeah, I think Josh Allen pulls a surprise victory. I think the Cowboys are bound to lose one.
Well, okay. All right. Interesting. Where's the aluminum foil hat? That's a good question. Maybe I think that's what John's going to get. John's special Christmas.
Never know.
Been a good sports year. Even the New York Rangers are getting my hopes again. Yeah. The biggest. I mean, we're all hockey fans here, but the biggest Ranger fan here is
Professor
Sir Angry John. Yeah.
The Rangers.
So and they won last night against Boston, which is pretty good. You know, the Knicks unfortunately disappointed against the Clippers, but well, I mean. By the way, shouts to my man G Nation Inside Sports for the $2 super chat. Again, you don't have to do that, but I appreciate it. Lou, Dak throws 3 picks. Okay, I will keep that in the headline in the book. People offer feeble juice. As far as this goes, before we go to Ravens Jags, well, I mean the Yankees weren't good, but they did trade for Juan Soto. The Giants haven't been good, but they might come around with a playoff run at like 2%.
The Nets are a playing team.
The Nets, I mean, I'm talking mostly in specific like my teams. The Knicks are so far good, but they did lose last night. But the Rangers have been the most consistent. So let's throw it over to the AFC 2 division leaders. These teams, I believe, are fighting for the what? 1 seed?
Yes. Just going to double check the NFL playoff picture. I want to see where the Jaguars are at in terms of seeding. They're either 2 or 3 per my calculations. They are the 4th seed, actually, because the Dolphins are number 2, the Chiefs are number 3, Ravens number 1 standalone. Just going to check the playoff picture again. I want to see what the difference is between the records of the Ravens and Dolphins. Ravens stand at 10-3. The Dolphins are 9-4. So possibly it could be a bet if I don't think the Dolphins and Ravens have played this season, if I'm not mistaken. So it would be obviously a tie based on conference record. I think the better conference record team would be in the number 1 spot. But obviously you have the Ravens. Talked about that. Can they maintain the number 1? What?
Said John has a sippy cup.
It's not a sippy cup. It's a cup.
Yeah. But can the Ravens maintain a number 1 seed and a 4-game winning streak? They've had wins against the Bengals, the Rams, obviously a walk-off victory with that. Going to look up the rest of the schedule to detail the rest of their wins. But they've been very impressive to me this year. I think most of everybody now is predicting them to be essentially the favorite to the Super Bowl. You obviously also have the Chargers victory, which was very much a low-scoring game, but the Ravens defense kept them in it. Getting some comments there, as John was very proud of the New York Rangers, as am I. But got a present for the Ravens on Christmas, right? The Niners and the Ravens are playing on Christmas.
It's a very good game.
But for the Jaguars, their answer is, or their question is, can a hobbled Trevor Lawrence help the Jags avoid a 3-game skid? I know our buddy Joe Cat is formerly down at Jacksonville for the game. So, yeah, he's enjoying the bright sunshine, or I should say the shitty weather down there, but more warmer down there. But anyways, obviously talk about the Ravens. They had a walk-off victory last week with a punt return touchdown. I'm just going to look up real quick something.
Yeah, this is not, again, like the whole
Tylan Wallace. That's the name. It was Tylan Wallace. A big, impressive victory over the Rams. The Rams were playing hard. The Ravens were getting beat right up the middle with the ground game. That's obviously a big weakness of theirs. But the Ravens' offense is obviously very two-dimensional. They have a solid passing game, and they have an elite running attack, best in the NFL. You have guys like Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and Keaton Mitchell who lead the way. Obviously, you've got good run blockers like one could have been a Jet. Not that I would have wanted to draft him. You got Tyler Linderbaum and Morgan Moses, 2 of the better run blockers on that team. That offensive line is considered probably one of the best across the league. But to get into the stats and the rankings, the Ravens rank 19th in passing offense, which is about league average, 215.4 passing yards a game. Their rushing offense, as I mentioned, is the best. You also have a dual threat quarterback, Lamar Jackson. 157.1 rushing yards per game, ranking first in the NFL. Their points per game ranks 4th in the NFL, 27.8. Their defense is passing is 4th best, 180.2 yards per game. We'll talk about how much of an impact that has on a hobbled Trevor Lawrence. Rushing attack is a little weak. They're 12th, which is not bad, but again, that's more of their weak spot, 104.2 rushing yards per game. And to bring that up with last week, the Ravens allowed let's see, I have the numbers here somewhere. They surrendered 114 yards and 25 carries to Kyron Williams, which was 4.6 yards per carry. Very efficient for Williams himself. But obviously, I don't think the Jags will have the running game, or I should say, the running game and the running performance like the Rams had last week in the rain. I'll talk about that later. Obviously, the points defense, they're second in points per game allowed, 16.8. But moving to the Jaguars side, their passing offense, with a hobbled Trevor Lawrence, ranks 9th, 242.9 passing yards a game. Rushing offense has been meh, 99.8 rushing yards per game, 24th. Obviously, you expect better with Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby in the backfield. Points per game, they rank 9th with 24 points per game. Their passing defense is atrocious, and that's why I think the Ravens are going to have a big game through the air. I know it's supposed to be a little bit of crappy weather. I'm going to check the Jacksonville weather right now because this is a Sunday night football game. So the weather in Jacksonville by around 8 p.m. It actually should be sunny with some periodic clouds as well. But that I think the turf or the surface, I think, will be a little bit dry by the time they play. And I think that's what's going to open up the passing attack for the Ravens. Their rushing defense ranks 5th. You have the best rushing attack in the NFL versus the 5th best rushing defense in the Jacksonville Jaguars, 92.2 rushing yards per game. The Jacksonville Jaguars also have surrendered the 9th least amount of points, tied for 9th, should I say, 22.3 rushing. No, I'm sorry, not rushing. 22.3 points per game. Now, to get into the stats, we talk about the overall picture. Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars losing last week to the Browns, a very crucial game against the former Raven, Joe Flacco, who threw up a very good game, 315 yards. I think he threw up 2 touchdowns and had a really efficient percentage as well. I think it was like 32 of 45. They really made him throw the ball, but the Jacksonville Jaguars' biggest weakness remains the secondary. Right now, Trey Herndon is out. Andre Cisco is out, or I should say Herndon's questionable. I don't know what the status is on Cisco, and let's pull it up because I got ESPN here. Cisco. Get into the game right here. Let's see. Here we go, 8:20 p.m. There we go. So as of right now, Trey Herndon is questionable. Andre Cisco is out. Tyson Campbell is out. So they will obviously have Darius Williams to start, but they also have their backup slot corner that potentially may start. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a rough day for Jacksonville. So to start with the Ravens defense, we'll talk about the main weakness for the Jaguars right now. It's their rushing attack and the fact that Trevor Lawrence is hobbled right now with a sore ankle, whatever you call it, high ankle sprain, whatever you call it. The Ravens, I thought the Ravens were more of a blitz-heavy team. Not that they were like, obviously, with Wink Martindale, but just to get into some of the defensive stats, they lead the NFL in team sacks, 49. They're tied 19th in pressure percentage, 20.8. They've given up the fewest touchdowns on defense. They rank 13th in the NFL in pass rush win rate. I'll talk about 2 matchups regarding that. You have Jadeveon Clowney ranking top 6 in pass rush win rate, 23%. Odafe away ranks top 20 in pass rush win rate, 22%. But again, as I said, the run stop win rate is 27th, 29%. Obviously, that's been their biggest weakness this far. They blitz the 10th fewest in the NFL, so you see a lot of 4-man rushes. They obviously have the outside linebackers to do it. They also have a nice little interior front. Obviously, you think guys of Tyler Madubuike, who had obviously asserted his own dominance. I just remember from the Week 1 game last year against the Jets.
Don't you mean Justin Madubuike?
Justin Madubuike, I'm sorry. Correct me on that. But you also got Michael Pierce, who's a steady force. You have Jadeveon Clowney and Odafe away as pass rushers on the outside linebacker front. They also got 2 stud fucking linebackers at Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. That's not much to their pass rush, but their front 7 is dominant, and that's the driving force of their essential dominance on defense. They also have a solid secondary. Brandon Stevens, Geno Stone has a career high in interceptions. I think he still leads the league in interceptions, if I'm not mistaken.
It's either that or Deron. I think Deron Bland's first, and then Geno Stone is like second or third.
And then I think they also have Marcus Williams and Marlon Humphrey coming back from injury. Obviously, Kyle Hamilton's expected to be out, which is a bit of a heartbreaker for the Ravens. No, he's actually questionable. My mistake. Devin Duvernay was also placed on IR. That's just another injury report. But you talk about how will the Ravens attack the Jaguars? Again, maybe they go out of character and blitz a little bit more, because the idea, you look at the stats, right? Evan Ingram had about, I would say, 11 receptions, 87 yards. They didn't really let I'm not going to say they didn't really let Lawrence throw downfield, but obviously with an ankle injury, you just want to get the ball out quickly. You want to avoid being hit as much as possible. And Evan Ingram got a lot of the targets last week, 11 receptions, 89 yards. I think he had a touchdown as well. So the idea for the Jacksonville Jaguars is going to get the ball out quick. And you obviously want to target guys like Ridley, running backs out of the backfield, whether that be Bigsby, Etienne, or Evan Ingram as well. But the Ravens, obviously, they're not really much in pressure percentage, but obviously the team sacks are there, and they get the production under Mike McDonald, more of a 3-4 defense. But the idea is, can the Ravens obviously get pressure on Jacksonville? And Jacksonville, their right tackle, I'm looking at a specific matchup, and that is Anton Harrison versus Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney is ranked 24th among 108 edge defenders per PFF. Anton Harrison has not had a great rookie season. He is ranked 65th among 83 tackles among the NFL per PFF. So I think that's a good matchup to at least look at. It's also some of the Jaguars' offensive line is banged up as well. Ezra Cleveland, their left guard, is injured. Walker Little, their left tackle, is injured. So Blake Hance and Tyler Shatley would start. So the Ravens really could attack the outside, the left outside, and the interior of that offensive line. Fortner still is the starting center. Brandon Scherf is still there as well. But just attacking that left side, I think that's going to really help the Ravens. But again, I go back to what I said earlier. It's going to be about how much pressure they put on Trevor Lawrence. Can he get the ball out quick? Will they throw in some exotic blitzes, some uncharacteristic blitzes? As I mentioned, the Ravens have blitzed the 10th fewest in the NFL. But moving to the Jaguars, some of their defensive stats, not great. They rank dead last in sacks, team sacks, 27 across the NFL. They're 13th in pressure percentage, about 22.5%. The 5th most touchdowns given up on defense. They rank 15th in pass rush win rate, 9th in run stop win rate, obviously includes their elite defense, and they blitz the 12th most in the NFL. So it obviously hasn't worked. But some of their worst performances, I'm documenting the last 2 weeks. Joe Flacco, 350 yards last week. David Njoku was a problem for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously on the other side of the ball, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns and 6 receptions. He had a big game. Amari Cooper also had a solid day, 7 receptions for 77 yards. But Jake Browning also had a great game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We all remember that game. We were streaming live, obviously with Boys of the Big Apple, but we were also paying attention to the Monday Night Football game, Bengals-Jaguars, where Lawrence got hurt. 32 of 37 for Browning, 357 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 11 receptions, 149 yards and a touchdown. But to include some offensive, obviously, reverse for the Ravens, some offensive stats, Tyler Linderbaum ranks top 12 in pass block win rate, 8 of 38 among centers, which is really elite. Morgan Moses, obviously a former Jet, second year with the Ravens, 11th of 83 tackles, ranking top 10 in run block win rate. So they are getting it done on that side of the ball. But you have that. Moving to the matchups, you have Calvin Ridley versus Brandon Stevens. Ridley's had a good year, but there are times where I think he's in and out. He's inconsistent. He's hot and cold.
I think that has a lot to do with Zay Jones being in and out.
Okay.
Because Zay Jones has, I guess, I don't know if it's separation, but I saw a graphic a few weeks ago that was like Zay Jones, when he plays, Calvin Ridley is like a high number of receptions. And when Zay Jones doesn't play, Calvin Ridley doesn't have that much production.
Ravens have Isaiah Likely. Now, let me look up his recent stats. He actually had a solid game last week. He had a touchdown. 5
what's up to Afram in the building?
yards. What's up to Afram? Hope Ball as well.
Hope Ball as well.
5 receptions, 83 yards, and 1 touchdown. His longest reception was 54 yards against the Rams. I think that's going to come in handy today as well. But looking at the matchups, I already mentioned Calvin Ridley versus Brandon Stevens. Obviously, Alex mentioned the impact of Zay Jones, which is why Calvin Ridley's been very hot and cold. Brandon Stevens has taken over nicely for the injured corners, but he's not locked in as a starter right now. As of the stats for the rankings, he is 30th of 119 corners, which is solid. Evan Ingram, obviously, the outside linebackers are used for the pass rush. Evan Ingram he might have a big game in terms of the stats, not so much maybe the impact. I brought up the 11 receptions for 89 yards last week against the Browns. Roquan Smith or Patrick Queen. I think Patrick Queen is more of the tackling linebacker, but Roquan Smith may be used for pass coverage. Roquan Smith is ranked the 6th best linebacker in the NFL per PFF, and he's very much, I think he's pretty much leading the NFL in Pro Bowl votes when it comes to that linebacker position. I could be wrong. Just going to mention that. But Zay Flowers, also a very consistent target of Lamar Jackson's. Not so much that he has a lot of the longer yards. He's very much consistent with the production. Going to bring some of his stats in from last week. Flowers, here we go. 6 receptions, 60 yards, 10 yards per reception, 1 touchdown. He doesn't go for a lot of long touchdowns, but he's very short. He gets the yards after the catch. He's very quick. He's very subtle. But he's going to be facing off either against Trey Herndon, who's had a very year, 52 of 119 corners per PFF. And I mentioned that if he's not playing, as in Herndon, they're going to be playing Gregory Jr., who I think was drafted in the 6th round, if I'm not mistaken. Not this year, but maybe a year prior. I'm going to double-check that for you guys right now because I want to be right on my stats. But Jr. was drafted in 2022 out of Wichita Baptist University. So, obviously not a lot known about him, but essentially, at the end of the day, he could be very well covering Zay Flowers, and that could be a matchup nightmare for the Jags secondary. And I mentioned Anton Harrison versus Jadeveon Clowney. That's going to be a big matchup. Also, you have the Jaguars' backup left tackle, that being Blake Hance versus Odafe Owe, who's also played very well this season. But to get to the position battles, I actually have the Ravens in most of them. You have the Ravens at quarterback. I think Lamar Jackson's had the better year, in my opinion. I think his ascension. I think after all the talk last year of his injuries and his down performances the last 2 years, I think he's really hit it off with a new offensive coordinator in Todd Monken, who's making him throw the ball more, opening up the two-dimensional attack for the Ravens offense. The offense, I should say, the running backs for the Ravens, I think they lead the way too. Obviously, I mentioned Keaton Mitchell, Gus Edwards, and Justice Hill. Thank you. They're leading the way as the best rushing attack in all of football. Wide receivers, I also have the Ravens. They have Odell Beckham. They have Zay Flowers. I think that really leads the way. Nelson Aguilar has been a contributor in and out. But for the Jags, they have Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones. Nobody's really stepped up outside of them. Parker Washington has seen some reps here and there. For the tight ends, I'm going to say the Jags right now. They obviously have Evan Ingram. I think he's going to get a lot of targets today. Isaiah Likely has been a nice piece. I liked him when they drafted him last year. But I think we'll have to see a little bit more production for that to be a Ravens pick. Offensive line, I'm going Ravens. Defensive line, I'm going Ravens. Linebackers, 2 of the best in football, Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith. I'm taking the Ravens. Outside linebackers, you have Jadeveon Clowney, Odafe Owe versus Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. It's a very good competitive matchup, but I'm taking the Ravens as well. Secondary, I'm taking the Ravens, and special teams with Justin Tucker and Talon Wallace with the return touchdown last week. I'm taking the Ravens. Not recency bias, but they've been phenomenal. Now for some predictions. So I'll start. A leading passer, Lamar Jackson, 254 yards and 2 touchdowns.
You want to go, Alex? Or
Yeah, sure, I'll go. Let me go ahead. I'm gonna say, let me go Lamar Jackson, and I'm gonna say 267 yards, and I'll go 2 touchdowns and an INT.
Okay. I am also Alex. Could you just write, because you're in the doc? Just write mine out. I'll go with Lamar Jackson as well, but I will say he gets 240 touchdowns. I mean, 240 yards.
Touchdowns.
240 yards, not touchdowns. 240
I don't
yards.
think he's thrown for 240 touchdowns yet in his career.
No, not yet. 240 yards. I'll say he has 1 passing touchdown, and I'll say he's a rushing touchdown.
Okay, that's fair.
I'll say he's a rushing touchdown today.
Moving into the next predictions, we've got the leading rusher. Obviously, I mentioned the stacked backfield of the Ravens. I know it seems a little bit like, why is it that low? I'm going to say Gus Edwards, 11 carries for 54 yards. You obviously have a lot of running backs taking those carries. Keaton Mitchell. I think Mitchell and Justice Hill will have those sporadic yards where the chunk plays, should I say. But I think Edwards is going to be he'll get the more efficient yardage. So I'm going to go Edwards, 54 yards and 11 carries.
I'm going to go with the undrafted Keaton Mitchell, 9 carries. Let's go with 68 yards. And I'll throw in a touchdown.
All right. I am also, Alex is kind of reading my mind. I'm going with Keaton Mitchell too. I got him at 10 carries for 60 yards, and that's it.
For the Ravens, I have Odell leading the way. 5 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. I think he'll have one of those chunk plays.
Okay. I go Zay Flowers. Actually, is Zay Jones playing?
I think he's healthy.
All right, let me go Calvin Ridley. I'm just gonna be square. I'll go with 7 catches, and I'll say 57 yards.
Okay, I'm going to go with Isaiah Likely today. I got him at 8 catches, 95 yards, and give me a touchdown for that, man.
Okay.
8 catches. How many yards?
95 yards and a touchdown.
All right.
Leading tackler, I have Patrick Queen with 8.
I'm gonna go Roquan Smith. I'm gonna say 11 tackles.
I'm going to go with the Luca today, and I'm saying he gets 12 tackles.
All righty. Leading sacker, I have Jadeveon Clowney, 1.5 sacks.
I'm gonna go ahead and say, Jadeveon Clowney. Who's on the other end? Remind me.
Away.
Okay. Give me Justin Matabuki.
Away.
I'm gonna say 1 sack.
Okay.
I'm going with away for 1.5 sacks.
My score prediction, 34-21 Baltimore.
My score prediction, let's see. I know Baltimore's going to win. I'm going to say 27-17.
Okay. I have who did I have in the book? I had the Ravens winning. Luca, did you you originally picked Jacksonville?
Did I?
Yeah.
Mind if I switch that up?
Sure.
All right.
Originally had Jacksonville. I asked, so we're gonna give you all for a Raven sweep. I will also go with Baltimore, and I got them winning 30-16.
Okay, so 2 scores for everyone. 2 scores for everyone. But I'm going to switch up the graphic. Any final thoughts?
I did want to say like one thing just to mention how good Justin Matabuke was. He's like ranked one of the top defensive ends as according to Pro Football Focus. And he's also in a contract extension this year. Our contract is up this year, and they have a few guys. I'm pretty sure he's going to be a free agent. So they have a few guys. I think Patrick Queen's also a free agent. So they're going to have some decisions to make as a part of this offseason coming up. And again, someone's going to get really paid. So he might be, the season that Matabuke is having, he might be more than a $20 million man, in my opinion. And then, quick note for like Jacksonville, right? For the Jags, they're a home team, which I guess is good for them, right? And they have had a hard time, as Luca said, getting to the quarterback. And that's just guys that like don't even run that well. Lamar Jackson is he's the best running quarterback maybe since Michael Vick. Maybe he's even better. So they're going to need a huge game from a guy like a Josh Allen or a Trayvon Walker to try and set the edge, because if they can't do that, it is game over for these men. And I also believe, some of their I think Tyson Campbell's still out.
Yeah.
So look for Lamar Jackson, maybe Odell, or maybe Rashad Bateman does get a deep pass today. Even though they have Darius Williams, who I do like. And that's going to be the key for Jacksonville. But unless Alex has final thoughts, we can go to this third game. And also, Alex, I sent you all the fantasy football and betting.
No, I don't mean to spoil, but I also am generally asking because of the graphic. No prop bets or.
I do have one. I do
Okay.
have one.
All right. Let me know in chat what that'll be.
Yeah.
But all right. So we got the Cowboys. Cowboys. I was reading off of a Twitter thing that said Mike McCarthy will probably get
just like I was reading off of Twitter, Clinton Portis, right?
Well, listen, it's more in line because we're in the same year, and also as well, like this is the division. But anyway, the thing I was reading off Twitter is that Mike McCarthy is probably going to get an extension from Mr. Jerry Jones. But here we are, the Battle of the Birds. Now, of course, standings wise, this is very playoff implicated for both of these teams. The Eagles are second place in their division, and the Seahawks are third. They share a record with the Rams, but I'm pretty sure they lost the Rams earlier this year, which makes them third in that division. They'll be fighting for the wild card. Right now, they sit at ninth. So they're behind Green Bay. They're behind the Rams, obviously. They'd be in front of the Rams if they beat them. But also you got the Falcons, the Saints, the Giants, and playing many other teams. So there's that. But that's like playoff implications. And obviously the Eagles, they're one of the top teams in the wild card. They'll be in the playoffs easy. But his storylines for the Eagles, right? There's no Darius Slay. He's got I don't know how to say the word arthroscopic knee surgery. So he will not play in this game, which is big. There's also no Fat Dom on the sidelines. I know that's just a little add-in, but no Fat Dom on the sidelines. He's been banned for the rest of the regular season from the sidelines. He will be back in the playoffs, though. Can the Eagles get back to winning and competing with Dallas for the division? Obviously, yes. We do know that the tiebreaker is there for the Dallas Cowboys, but the Eagles have struggled the last few games. They pulled one out of their ass against the Bills, tight game against the Chiefs, tight game against the Cowboys beforehand. But the last two, they got their asses blown out by the 49ers. And then last week, they got their asses blown out by the Cowboys. So they're coming in very pissed off in an environment that's going to be very loud for the Eagles because they're playing, with the 12th man in Seattle. And they also have no Cam Jurgens or Zach Cunningham. So Jurgens is backing the offensive line. Zach Cunningham is going to impact the linebacking core. But Shaq Leonard is going to play, obviously. So that's going to be good for them. And storyline for the home team, right? Getting tight for a playoff spot. Now, of course, I mentioned they are currently the 9th seed. They need to be the 7th seed. So they're 2 games.
Would you like me to look up their playoff odds?
I got it. I mean, if you want to look up the odds, sure. But I have the standings. So as I said, they're behind the Rams. They are also behind the Green Bay Packers. And they have the same record. So if things maneuver the right way, Seattle can jump into that spot. But moving forward, also, Davon Witherspoon did not practice all week, and he is questionable. I'm going to get the sense that he does not play. That's just my personal opinion. And then also Jamal Adams, he is questionable, did not practice all week with a knee injury. Geno Smith is questionable, was limited all week with the groin injury, so, we'll see how much he gets. And then, of course, Dwayne Eskridge, who was limited towards the end of the week, questionable. So let's move into stats. For the Philadelphia Eagles, they are 14th in passing offense, 8th in rushing, 6th in points. But defensively, they've been one of the more terrible defenses in the NFL. Luca's got a question.
Not much of a question. I was going to add insight to the Seahawks record. So right now, they have a 25% chance to make the playoffs. If they beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football, that chance increases to 45%. And it gets better with each win, obviously.
Okay. All right. Go Seattle, says Barbara. Actually, no. If you're a Giants fan, you're rooting against Seattle for the wild card spot. And the fact that they have the tiebreaker over us. So that actually was going to play a part in it. But anyway, they're 28th in passing defense, 6th in rushing defense, and 29th in points defense. Stats-wise, for the Seattle Seahawks, they're 16th in passing offense, 28th in rushing, and 19th in points offense, and then 25th in passing defense, 23rd in rushing defense, and 26th in points defense. So these are two very bad defenses, but the only thing that stacks up, apologies, my nose is a little runny today, The only thing that stacks up right now is the fact that the Eagles have one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Now, let's take a look at the position battles. Philly gets the quarterback position. That shouldn't be a question to anybody. Running back, I'm going to take DeAndre Swift and his production over what the Seattle Seahawks have in their running back room. I'm going to take the Philly wide receiver production because A.J. Brown's had another monster season. Devonta Smith's been there as a supporting character. Tight end, I'm going to take, honestly, and I know this is a little bit of a hot take, I'm going to take Seattle. Dallas Goedert, obviously, is one of the top tight ends when healthy. I just feel like the consistency isn't there. And Noah Fant and Colby Parkinson, they get a little bit of a smidge over Dallas Goedert. The O-line is Philly. The D-line is Philly. The inside linebacking core has been terrible for Philly. That's where Seattle gets the cake. Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner. Outside linebackers, that goes to Philly. Secondary, that goes to Seattle. And special teams, that goes to Seattle. And I know, yes, Jake Elliott's been one of the best this year in terms of long kicks. But they also haven't figured out punting. I believe Braden Mann is still with their team. So he hasn't been particularly good. Where Michael Dixon has. So there's that. And we're looking at top matchups, right? We're going to look at those top matchups. Let me go to the Eagles stat line really quickly so I can have it up for you guys. So we got DK Metcalf versus James Bradberry. And guys, do you want to guess how many coverage touchdowns James Bradberry has given up?
4. I'll
6.
say 4.
Okay, 4 is one guess.
I said 6.
6. You know what's funny? Add those two together, and that's what you get.
Jesus Christmas.
10 touchdowns in coverage given up this year via Pro Football Reference. Not good. Not good. And Darius slays out this game. Bradberry has 1 interception, 57.1 completion percentage in coverage, which is good. But 551 yards, 101, I can't talk today, 111.7 passer rating. And to go along with 10 passing touchdowns allowed in coverage. Again, not good. The completion percentage is good, but James Bradberry, Panthers fans, Giants fans, they know Bradberry to be on and off every season. And as for DK Metcalf, he's gotten on a hot streak a little bit. Obviously, that game against Dallas was huge for him. 7 touchdowns this season, 864 yards, 14 plays over 20, and 51 catches. You move down. I'm going to look at Leonard Williams versus Sue Opeta, and they acquired Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams has been good with them. Though they have had a losing record since acquiring him, he's been very good with them. He's got 3 sacks on the season with them, but in total, 39 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 11 TFLs, 17 quarterback hits, and 18 quarterback pressures versus Sue Opeta, who's going to fill in for Cam Jurgens today. 2 penalties and 2 sacks. You move to the Georgia kids, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Davis, lesser production, but that's expected. 27 tackles, 4 sacks. Let me just make sure I got it right. Yep, 4 sacks, 2 TFLs, 5 quarterback hits, 8 quarterback pressures. 62 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 5 TFLs, 13 quarterback hits, and 16 QB pressures for Jalen Carter. Versus 3 guys who I think are going to struggle this game. Anthony Bradford, the rookie out of West Virginia. You got Evan Brown, the former Giant center, and Damian Lewis, the vet, who they drafted. Bradford this year has given up 0 sacks, but 4 penalties. Evan Brown has 3 sacks given up, 6 penalties, and 4 penalties, 3 sacks for Damian Lewis. You move further on the offensive line, you can switch to that left side. Charles Cross, who was drafted last year out of Mississippi State, 4 penalties, 4 sacks this season, but he's better than last year. Versus Josh Sweat, who's one of, now the sack numbers don't go off, but he's been one of the more impactful defensive ends in the NFL this season with 34 quarterback pressures, 35 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 6 TFLs, and 21 quarterback hits. And I'm pretty sure he got extended recently. Then you also have Abraham Lucas, who's only given up 1 sack, but he hasn't played a lot due to injury. And then he'll go up against Hassan Reddick, who has 62 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 11 TFLs, 22 quarterback pressures, and 17 quarterback hits. Then you move to the secondary for the Seahawks and receiving core for the Philadelphia Eagles. A.J. Brown's been on a tear, 17 touchdowns, 1,258 yards, total of 20 plays over 20, 90 catches. Jesus Christ, that's a lot. For a guy that does complain.
That's like AB stats.
Yeah. Occasionally he does like to complain about not getting the ball. But anyway, Tariq Woolen, he's had a bit of a step back this year. I think his biggest problem has been tackling, but he's got 2 interceptions, 55.7 completion percentage allowed, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 73.1 passer rating. Again, a little bit of a step back, but a lot of that is due to tackling. Davon Witherspoon may not play. I don't think he's going to play this game, so it's going to be Devonta Smith versus Trey Brown. Brown's been decent, 83.4 passer rating, 2 touchdowns allowed, 2 INTs, 283 yards, 62.9 completion percentage, 1 quarterback pressure, 25 tackles, and for Devonta Smith this year, 907 yards. So it's very possible that the Eagles get 2,000-yard receivers this year, 6 touchdowns, 69 receptions, and 13 plays over 20. Next, I'm going to look at Dallas Goedert versus Julian Love for the fantasy advice. Not going to spoil anymore. But Julian Love, not been great for him this season. His stats have calmed down since the beginning of the year. 2 INTs, 3 touchdowns allowed in coverage, 99.9 passer rating, 542 yards, and 67.2 completion percentage allowed. Also to go with 90 tackles. And Dallas Goedert this season, 2 touchdowns, 4 plays over 20, 440 yards, and 42 catches. Almost done with the position battles / the top matchups. I'm looking at Bradley Roby, who's been around the league for a little bit, versus Tyler Lockett. So 2 established vets in this league. Roby's been good for them. He hasn't allowed a touchdown. He has no interceptions yet, but 60% completion, 76.4 passer rating, and 146 yards, and also 19 tackles and a quarterback pressure versus Tyler Lockett, who this season is the second leading receiver, 4 touchdowns, 6 plays over 20, 65 catches, 711 yards. So with that being said, I ought to go into the predictions and lead us right into it.
Real quick? What is the receiving touchdowns record in a single season? Does anybody know? Because you said 17 touchdowns for A.J. Brown.
Hold up.
I said 17 touchdowns?
I swore I heard you say 17.
If I said 17, that's wrong. It's 7 touchdowns.
By the way, the record was the 07 season for Randy Moss, 23.
Yeah. So, says he's eating. No, he's probably eating that old man cereal, Raisin Bran. No, he's eating Cheerios. Okay, all right.
And I'm having this as my morning drink.
Yeah, I'll be having real chocolate milk. But anyway, moving forward, I got Jalen Hurts as the lead passer, 279 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I will also be going with Mr. Hurts, as he will go for 310, 4 touchdowns.
I'll write that in for you, John, because I'm a friend. What did you say, 310 for 4 touchdowns?
Some news on the baseball front. Thank you, Evan. Yankees meeting with number 1 as soon as today. Okay. Thank you, Evan, for the update.
All right, so Jalen Hurts, I'm going to go 295 yards and 3 touchdowns.
For leading rusher, I'm going to take DeAndre Swift. I'll take him at 14 carries, 92 yards, and a TD.
I'll say Swift gets 10 carries, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Why don't they use him more?
I think it's that whole entire backfield that, they do.
He's so good, though.
I know.
He's elusive. He'd be a Pro Bowler if he got more playing time. More carries, too.
All right, so Swift, I'll have him as the leading rusher, too. You know what? I'm going to throw in a curveball. I'll say Jalen Hurts is the leading rusher. 8 carries for 65 yards.
Okay, Luca's trying to be different here.
Oh, you weren't how many minutes ago? And a rushing. No, I'll just keep it that way. Next.
Right. So, and feel free, I don't know why this went away, but feel free, guys, to put in your predictions as well. So, for leading receiver, I'm going to take DK Metcalf at 6 receptions, 83 yards. For some reason, I don't see this being a blow-up.
I got Dallas Goedert, 9 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown today.
I'll actually say Tyler Lockett, but John, you said Dallas Goedert.
Mm-hmm.
How many yards and receptions? How many yards and receptions, John?
8 for 95.
8 receptions, 95 yards. Okay, I'm actually going to go Tyler Lockett here. If he's playing, I think he is. Lockett, he'll get, what's that?
I'm saying he's playing.
7 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown.
Okay.
Give me, actually, you know what? I wrote it in. I'm going 2 touchdowns for Goddard today.
Oh, boy. Okay.
All right, so Julian Love is going to get torched. Lead tackler, I got Shaq Leonard at 7 tackles.
Give me Hassan Reddick at 8 tackles.
Really? Mm-hmm. Give me Bobby Wagner. No. Jordan Brooks. 8 tackles.
We got 2 more on the docket here. Lead sacker, I'm going to go Josh Sweat. He gets 1 sack.
Give me Jalen Carter for 2 sacks.
Leading guy for defensive rookie of the year, 2 sacks. Why not? Let's see. I'm thinking. All right, I'll go Hassan Reddick and Fletcher Cox share a sack.
Here we fucking go again with this nonsense.
You know I have to throw in a curveball.
I don't think he's got any one of those right since he's done that. Maybe once. What's up to King Jers in the building?
What's up, King Jers?
He says Tibbs is going to get 2 sacks today. Well, Ryan Ramczyk is not playing, and Andres Pete hasn't been good. So
he's been dog dude.
Appreciate it, King Jers. Final score, I have Eagles winning 23-15.
Give me the Eagles to win 35-13.
Okay,
I'll say it's by 2 scores. Uh, 30-13, Philadelphia.
Okay, so I'm the Lone Ranger in terms of this being an actual
competitive game.
I think Philly just beats the brakes off them today.
Hey, good.
Or tomorrow.
But any final thoughts on this game?
No,
Okay.
I think.
By the way, also, I had to add in the Sean Stellato and Tommy DeVito thing. By the way, Sean Stellato is now in the Italian Sports Hall of Fame. So congrats to him on that.
You can even add him to the betting because of the player prop.
Yeah, okay. But Sir John, whenever you're done eating your Fruit Loops, as Brad says.
I think it'd be a nice time to give me one more bite and then just let's promote our SeatGeek.
Oh, yes. But also, we could do this. We could do this. But we're not. Anyway, you guys could go to SeatGeek and use our promo code Big Blue in the Bronx. If you're going to a tailgate, if you're going to a concert, whatever SeatGeek offers, we're there for you. $20 off your ticket order with the promo code Big Blue in the Bronx. We could, as I said, we could add this, but we're not going to. And then also we got fantasy, we got betting, and I'm telling you right now, I've done well in my fantasy already. By the way, thank you, Lions, for absolutely beating the goddamn piss out of the Broncos last night because Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs, I love them. Okay,
Didn't Goff throw for like 5 touchdowns or something?
However many touchdowns he threw for, listen, it's in John's league and it's the playoffs, and I'm projected to win by 40. Okay.
Yeah, I missed the playoffs. My own league. 3 fucking injuries last week.
Yeah.
Wait. What happened?
Go. I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
John, what happened?
I said I missed the playoffs in my own league because I got 3 players.
Yes.
I had 3
people. You're the one who kicked me out last year.
What happened?
I said you're the one who kicked me out last year.
I know. So I guess karma. But I had 3 guys start and 3 guys get hurt in the same week. So it's not like I can replace anyone. And I was screwed.
You know who's got a first round bye?
You do.
You know who beat you exactly?
Who cares? I got a first round bye. I get to prep an extra week. But anyways, I want
All
to
right.
mention, John, I think I told you that I actually
Okay.
placed a couple prop bets for the Giants game. I ended in, as I mentioned, an underdog. You can essentially win the same amount of money back. Like I did 3 picks, right? I did the Jalen Waddle, I did the Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt one didn't hit, so I got 2 correct, and I won essentially the money back that I paid in $2. I know
I
it's
have
not a
one-
lot, but still.
I have one question for John before he goes into his overall fantasy advice. It is a fantasy question.
Okay.
Rico Dodal or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Ooh, I like that because I do think both are good. But Rico Dodal, right? So he kind of had an ankle injury this week. But I don't think that should really scare fantasy managers away because he's had like 3 touchdowns his last 5 games coming into this game. So he's very like touchdown dependent. Now, I also know that I don't know, is Pacheco playing this week?
Pacheco's not playing.
So he's not playing. I think I'd start
Edwards-Helaire.
yeah. I think the Pats are in disarray, and when you have teams in disarray, that's when certain other teams go off.
Right.
So I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
All right. Whenever you're ready, John.
I'm ready. All right, first guy up. We had to do it just because Alex loves this guy. He's the he represents everything with this winning streak for the Giants. The Italian stallion, Tommy Cutlets. He's my first guy. You got to add him to your roster because he's had a few games where he's demolished some of his teams in terms of the fantasy, right? He's been average like in terms of like how accurate he is. But the Saints defense has really taken a step back. Now they're not like they're still good. They're not great. They've allowed like the 5th fewest yards in passing yards per game this year, and the 5th. So Tommy DeVito, I wouldn't necessarily like start him at Adams to your roster if you guys need. If a lot of quarterbacks getting hurt. Obviously, Herbert, Joe Burrow has been obviously hurt. Some other guys as well, but again, he's someone that that you should pick up. And this is going to come as a shocker because this is another guy that's kind of like for the next guy that I don't want people to start because I think they're getting a little carried away. And I know he had really 2 good weeks, but Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was great last week. So Jets fail again. And since week 13,
I'm sorry to interrupt, John. Can we be fair or something? Flacco, and it's funny, Flacco in those games with the Jets that didn't give 2 fucks. He didn't want to play. He just wanted the money. But with the Browns, he's fucking balling out.
That's Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
Well, Elijah Moore was a cancer, but go on.
Ranked 22nd in fantasy points when quarterbacks drop back. So, again, someone maybe you could add, but I wouldn't play him because the Bears have actually been really good defensively in the past few weeks. They've allowed the 2nd fewest yards per attempt and the lowest passer rating to quarterbacks since week 9. So, again, the Bears have been actually on fire of late. They're a sneaky team that I'm starting to like a little that could play spoiler or potentially for a fight for a wild card. I even picked them to win this week. But I really don't like Joe Flacco's matchup today. This is where I'm saying relax on Mr. Flacco. Sticking with the Cleveland Browns, though, right? Jerome Ford was, I don't remember. So he came, I think it was at one point he came out of last week's game, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he finished the game.
I mean, I'm seeing his practice reports. I know you just talked about the game. It says he's been limited.
He was limited, yeah.
He's probably questionable, if I'm guessing.
Questionable. But regardless, I look at Kareem Hunt, right, and people are like, oh, maybe he gets an uptick. Well, the thing, Chicago's been really good defensively. Hunt has averaged in his last 3 games 10 touches. So, and he had a touchdown, I think, last week. So, which was like the first one in his last 4 games. But Chicago doesn't allow a lot of big run plays. 6th lowest explosive run rate since week 9, and the 6th fewest yards rushing. So I'm telling you, the Chicago defense has gotten after it. And this is what they were supposed to do at the beginning of the season when we thought they'd be a little better. Now they're playing like a better unit under Matt Eberflus and everything. But shout out to Jacob as he's coming in with more Yoshinobu Yamamoto use. We'll definitely talk about that on the call-in show tonight as we're going over some fantasy advice on what maybe to do and what not to do. As don't start Kareem Hunt. The Bears are real. Now we go for a guy maybe you should start in your flex option, right? We talked about this game when Luca was previewing. This is a guy, I think, a really good flex option.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I actually just did that because my flex option was either Khalil Herbert, Devon Shane, or it was Gus Edwards. I'm like, let me go with Gus.
So
Why
Edwards
did not play Devon Shane?
Because he might not play. They uploaded Darrington Evans.
Okay, gotcha.
So Edwards is like been a good running back. I don't want to say he's fantastic, but he's been good. This dude is actually 3rd in all total touchdowns, which really helps his value. In week 10, he had like 52% of the snaps, but in week 14, it went to 28. Now, you got to think, right? The Baltimore Ravens also have Keaton Mitchell, which has kind of hurt that. But, Edwards is still a decent back. And, Jacksonville has been horrible against the run, too, since week 9. Ranked the highest explosive run rate, which I love that stat because it truly shows how, like, a running back pretty much how
they can break off for a great run.
Yeah, exactly. The break off in there. And they've also had the 3rd most missed tackles. So I really like the matchup for Gus Edwards today. It's also supposed to be a lot of rain, so I could actually see an uptick in his touches down in Jacksonville, and it is windy today. So Gus Edwards is someone that I'd want to. We're staying in that game, going to the opposite side now. Zay Jones, right? A guy that he's such a weird player. With the volume monster he gets, along with Christian Turk, even though they have Calvin Ridley, but they just use these two more. Can be successful. He gets the targets and the looks, but his matchup stinks today because Baltimore has held wide receivers to the 5th fewest PPR points per target. And, Zay Jones is a guy that really does depend on target, but Baltimore just doesn't give that up. I think that you sit him today, and Alex raising his hand correctly.
There is expectation that Case Keenum will start for the Texans instead of Davis Mills.
Case Keenum. Well, I did pick the Titans to win, and so did Luca. You picked the Texans.
You really think Case Keenum is going to beat him?
Now, listen, if he does, I deserve all the credit. Okay. I mean, I can still change it.
Do you want to? You believe in Will Levis more?
Give me Tennessee.
Okay, so we're going for a clean sweep.
Give me Tennessee.
All right. Nevertheless, again, not a good matchup for Zay Jones. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to get kind of schooled today by Baltimore, in my opinion. Nevertheless, now we go into a super duper star, and if Almighty was here, I'd kind of make fun of him because this guy traded him away. Tyreek Hill is a really tough matchup this week. Obviously, the Jets, probably the best secondary in the NFL. Maybe the Browns are better, but other than that, no, Sauce and Reed are probably the best corner duo up there. Anyway, Hill had an ankle injury last week, so he doesn't practice all this week. But, despite injury, I'd still play him.
I just want to report on that. Per ESPN and whoever was out there, they essentially said he was running with no limp. So he's probably going to play. Yeah,
and besides last week, right, because that's the game he was hurt, the last 3 weeks, he's hit over 100 yards and a touchdown. The only game he didn't do that was right before the bye week. The last time he didn't do that was week 9 in Kansas City. So it's not like he's been hampered by this at all. He's still putting up the production, right? The fantasy points have been at least 15 or better. That's being generous. He had 27 against Washington 2 weeks ago. So this dude is still a monster, and you got to freaking play him. I don't understand the injury scare because it's Tyreek freaking Hill. You don't trade him, and you play him every week because that's how you win leagues. But anyway, I'll go on to the tight end, right? I talked about this guy a few weeks ago. Excuse me. Isaiah Likely in his last let me just say this. He has been up and down at times, but Likely's target share is at 16%. The first read share is at 15.9%, so it's a pretty good share for him. Jacksonville allows 8th most fantasy points per game to tight ends, and they are also second highest in yards per reception, so I see a big game for Isaiah Likely today. I think Jackson's going to find him more, and I just don't really like the guys like, besides Zay Flowers, the guys like Odell and Rashad Bateman, right? I always seem like they're a big play or just a whole lot of nothing at this point in their career. And I know Odell's a lot older than Bateman, but that's all I see them really. All right, I don't see them better than Isaiah Likely, in my opinion. And, another guy that we got to talk about is Dallas Goedert, because I gave him a big prediction for tomorrow night, right? Let's just say this. He's back to his, full-time role now, right? And he's got tight end one worthy metrics because not only besides that, Seattle is the 14th most fantasy points per game to tight ends. Last week, he ran 86% routes, 14% target share, and 17% read share. You expect his production to go up after last week. I think it was just the Cowboys just kind of beat the hell out of them. And this is where fantasy managers start questioning their stars. Well, don't question a guy like Dallas Goedert, and don't question a guy like Tyreek Hill.
By the way, I would just like to add, before we go into the betting, while John gets his little Cheerios.
Are you going to talk about Jalen Hurts? Because there's a report.
He is sick, and he's downgraded to questionable. So you guys thinking it's going to be 700 to 40, I don't think it's going to happen.
Listen, Jalen Hurts with a cold will beat fucking Geno Smith.
Remember what happened to Patrick Mahomes with a cold, with the flu?
But Geno Smith is Geno Smith because he's just Geno Smith.
Eagles will still win.
No, I'm not saying the Seahawks will win, but I'm just telling you what Mr. Schefter has said. So,
all right, we see the board or the nice graphic that Alex put out. The very nice graphic. Here's why I like the Cowboys and Bills money line, right? You can get this bet, the Cowboys, right, at a plus money. You're getting them as an underdog money line. How often does that happen? Not much for the Cowboys this year. And Dallas is at a plus 110, guys. You can get them plus money. Here's why I like this matchup. Everybody is riding mighty high in the Bills. And I know the Cowboys have been a much better home team, right? But here's why I love the Cowboys here. The Bills and Chiefs just played a big national game, right? That CBS game. So everyone and their mom was watching. High ratings, right? Whenever there's a fluky win, like how that happened last week with the Kadarius Toney offside, right? If that didn't happen, the Chiefs score that touchdown, they win the game. Anytime there's a big win, Vegas always makes the mistake and, has it wrongly priced. I think this will be a close game. I think the spread is like a -2 for Buffalo, but there's no way they're winning this game. It was a fluky game. I think at one point, I believe they were getting outgained too in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So that just proves it more. Give me the Cowboys to win this game. That is my best bet for the money line. The unders. I love 3 unders today. Here's why. Jets, Dolphins, right? So Tyreek Hill, I know I'd say start him. It's at a 37 right now. I know the Jets had scored 30 last week. Don't know how that happened. I don't think that happens again at all, right?
Can I also add, I don't mean to interrupt, John. To go with that, you predict the under, right? Which is understandable. Jets one fluky win of success. Per wager wire, this is per BetMGM. The Jets Dolphins game, you said the over-under is 37. That's one of the most bet overs, actually. which is to your point about, fluky stuff with Vegas and people falling for it.
Here's why I think it's fluky. Depressed Yankee, thank you for joining. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button for us in YouTube and share out if you can. But here's why I love the Jets Dolphins. Luca, I'll allow you to answer this beautiful question.
Sure.
What was the score of the Jets Dolphins game the first time around?
Dolphins dropped 37 on us?
You can look it up. I'm not tricking or anything. You can look it up.
All right. It was with Tim Boyle too. Just got to put that out there.
No, I know.
It was. Let's see. Why is it not popping up? I think it was like 37-20. No, not even 36. 34-13. 34-13.
Okay. So you add those numbers, right? And you get 47, correct?
Si, senor.
This is where I love the fluky part. There were 2 touchdowns that probably don't happen in most games. The end of the game, Jets touchdown, because that was garbage time.
Yes.
And the pick 6, the 99-yard Hail Mary pick 6. I don't mean to mention it, but
No, I don't know.
That's 14 points right there. You take away 14 from that. That's under than 37. I like this. There's wind today, and also the Dolphins are a way better pass team, in my opinion. They're not passing all day over Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Ain't happening.
There's a chance they probably could run the football very well, though.
They could. But remember,
it makes for the climate because
clock runs when you run the football.
Oh, yeah. That means
clock run.
True. I was also going to mention that Antoine Staley said that essentially the rain is gone in Florida, and it's going to be some nice sunny weather down in Miami.
Mm-hmm. Now we got the Bears and the Browns under, right? Here's why I like this. Terrible weather in Cleveland.
Makes sense.
I looked up the NFL weather report today, right? I'll look back at it because I accidentally closed the tab. But the NFL weather report for the Browns and Bears. Definite showers today, 99% chance, 14 miles gust of wind. They have this over-under also the same as the Jets and Giants at 37. There's no way this one hits. Both teams like to run the football, right? Both teams also have played really good defensively. The Bears probably been a top 10 defense since like week 9, especially if you check the EPA advanced analytics. They have been right there up with the top teams. Give me the under 37. And the Cowboys-Bills, I like their under a lot too. I think it's skyrocketed at 49, right? And I think, it's another game where you see some weather, right? Buffalo is always colder. Dallas is used to playing in a dome. There's going to be rain, and there's going to be 15 miles of gust of wind blowing south, but there's also a good chance of rain. When a dome team plays, in like bad weather, usually they lose. But I don't think they lose because I think they're a way much better team than Buffalo. But I think that the under is a better likely to hit in this scenario. Champions.
All right.
Second time I've talked on mute today. Hold on. Chris Olave is out for today's game against the New York Giants. So,
speaking of that game, we got my favorite player prop of the day. You ready for this? Nobody's going to expect it. And I saw this
unless they see it on screen, then they'll expect it.
Well, obviously. You look at Prize Picks, and I saw this from one of the gamblers that I like to follow and look at, because I do that with I have about 20 or 30 guys. Wan'Dale Robinson really friggin' intrigued me today, and here's why, right? So you look at Mr. Wan'Dale, right? You look at his receiving yards, and I guarantee you they've gone up, but I'd probably still even play it now because Wan'Dale is at 31.5. So when did Tommy DeVito come in? It was the
Jets game first.
Jets game first, right?
Then his
So
first
they didn't
start
really
was
let
against
him.
the Cowboys.
They didn't let him throw the ball, right? But here's how he's done since then: 22 yards, 62 yards, 18 yards, 40 yards, 20 yards, 21 yards. Excuse me. I think that we go over this today, especially because we're in a dome. So
Wait,
it's
you talking about the receiving stats for Wandale week by week, or receptions?
the receiving yards.
Because last week he had 79.
I'm sorry. I thought. Where am I? Hold up.
Do you want me to get his game log up for you?
Why is Pro Football Focus say 21 receiving yards?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Nope. I'm sorry. I'm reading this backwards like an idiot. So that's an error on me.
Yeah,
My mistake. My mistake on that one. There we go. So here's the actual information, right? 35 yards, 26 yards, 79 yards. In the last 3 games, right? He got 4, 5, and 7 targets. It's more pass happy when you're in a dome. I like this. I think 31.5 is too low, in my opinion. I didn't really do a lot of player props because I like the board a lot today. So that is my player prop for anyone that has any questions. You guys can ask, but Luca, if you have any input, go ahead.
I know I'm looking
real quickly before Luca goes. I think it's actually a good player prop because, obviously Marshawn Lattimore's not playing, but Isaac Yiadom and Paulson Adebo have been really good. Adebo is arguably a Pro Bowler for the Saints, and they are the 3rd best team when it comes to pass deflections and interceptions. So I get the feeling that they're going to want to keep it short and over the middle of the field, and he's going up against Delonte Taylor. So I think that's actually a pretty good bet.
I'd also like to add, what was I going to say? Now I just lost my train of thought. Damn it. I'm going to look for other player props if possible. But I was going to go back to what I was looking at on my underdog. John, is over 36.5 rushing and receiving yards for Robinson just as good as a bet as the over 31.5 receiving yards?
I'd rather just stick to receiving because you can never tell when they do like the jet sweeps for him. Okay. I mean, they'll probably do it once or twice, but I don't want to gamble on it.
Okay, putting the over. So some other wager wire bets per BetMGM, the most bet player props. Chuba Hubbard over 15.5 rush attempts versus the Falcons.
I like that.
Tyler Algier over 7.5 rushing attempts versus the Panthers.
Okay.
Ezekiel Elliott over 18.5 receiving yards against the Chiefs.
Nah.
Derrick Henry over 68.5 rushing yards versus the Texans.
I love that. Love that. You know why? Anytime he faces his division, he kills them. Absolutely murders them. Take the over on that.
I'm actually going to do that. I'm actually going to listen to your advice, John.
Thank you.
Let's see. Hold on.
I wish I had Frosted Flakes today.
Frosted Flakes are goated.
Also, Garrett Wilson over 4.5 receptions.
I like that over.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bet on my own team, so I'm going to leave off that. I'm going to look up some more other players.
Who cares? You said you're emotionless about how they play today.
I still won't fucking bet on my own team or in that same game. I'm done with that shit.
This guy thinks he's going to get suspended from baseball like Pete Rose if he bets on his own team.
No. Okay, so some other prop bets that I'm looking at. You've got, let's see, Lions Broncos, that was already done. Cooper Kupp over 75.5 receiving yards. Because I remember, John, you told me about the Puka Nacua bet against the Cardinals. He actually hit the under when I bet the over.
I know.
So would you say Cooper Kupp over 75.5 receiving yards? He had, let's check how many receiving yards last week.
He did good last week.
115.
You know what? I would take the over.
All right. Just going to look at any others. See if, what about Jake Ferguson? All right. He's going to be right back. So the other one I'm pending is Jake Ferguson, as he was mentioning about his preview, over 42.5 receiving yards against the Bills.
Somehow I don't see it.
Possibility. I mean, let's see. Their dominance documented, blah, 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 blah. Dallas has seen its record drop
What
to
was Jake Ferguson's?
42.5 receiving yards, over or under.
Give me the under. It's really cold in Buffalo.
Thank you. I said that.
So let's see. What about DeAndre Swift rushing yards over 58.5 versus Seattle? I'm not content on betting that, honestly.
Neither am I.
I guess I'll just go with the Cooper Cup one because it's not. What about Dak under 279.5 passing yards?
I would take that under.
Yeah, I would take the other two. A little update: Javon Holland will not play against the New York Jets.
Yes, that means one less player for us. Woo! Oh yeah, it's gonna so matter score.
Hey, listen, I will say this, right? You won't have a 99-yard Hail Mary.
That's right. See, I told you it was fluky. Hence, you should bet the Jets Dolphins under. You know what? I think I'm going to be so kind today in the Christmas spirit. I'm going to cook a money line parlay for people.
Okay.
Because here's what I'm going to do. Ready? Here's what I'm going to do for y'all, folks. Cook a money line parlay. You know what? We are going to. We're going to do a 3-team parlay.
Okay.
The Packers money line.
Okay.
Probably.
The Rams money line. And the you know what? Let's do the Ravens money line.
That's fair enough.
So
wait, Luca, can you add these can you get a betting calculator? Can you look it up?
Okay, betting calculator. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we said we're going to do. Hold on, I just want to make sure I have the right betting calculator in terms of money or.
We're gonna a parlay calculator. It should have
gotcha. Okay,
Put
bet
these numbers in. Put these numbers in. Ready? So the Packers money line is at a -190.
Just like it says on BetUS, okay?
-190. The Rams money line is -300.
Just like on that BetUS could go on.
And the Ravens money line is -185.
And Ravens money line per BetUS is 190. But anyways, 5 points off. Who gives a shit? All right. So parlay odds would be +214. Now, any money
should I be crazy and throw in one more?
Fuck it. Why not? Because I'm actually trying to find the money line bet for myself to bet today.
Well, I do like the Cowboys one.
Yeah.
Let's do a straight. Let's find something else. You know what? Throw in the Eagles money line tomorrow night, -150. Let's see what we get.
1 second here. Hold on. Would you say the number was?
-150.
-150. Okay. And the total comes out to 423.
Guys, we got a 423 parlay for y'all. That's the Eagles money line, Packers money line, the Ravens money line, and the Rams money line.
The fuck do I not see the Eagles game on this one? Because I'm looking at NFL Week 15.
It is tomorrow night. I don't know.
No, I know it's. Hold on, Sunday. Sunday Funday. But you said the Cowboy. It's tough because I'm picking the Bills to win per our picks. I want to see if there's like an alternative I can do.
If you want another money,
or what about a spread bet? Do you have any spread bets?
Because
I'll tell you this: most.
You know what? It's funny because I actually like the Patriots spread bet of +8.5. I know that sounds crazy because they suck, but Patrick Mahomes, when he's like a bigger favorite of 3 or more, he does worse.
Mm.
And also that Patriots defense is still pretty good.
I would say that for 8.5. I like that one.
I'll see any of the other ones I like. Let's see. What about Giants +6?
I don't know. I'm trying to think like my betting. It's just there's not enough info for me on.
I got a little bit of news for you guys. Tyreek Hill is inactive.
Really?
Oh, shit. My God.
Devon Shane is active. Do I start him now over Gus Edwards or no? Flex option.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm trying to think of something to help my dear friend Luca. Trying to think. What is...
Trying to find a good line bet or an over-under. Or you know what? Maybe I could do over-under.
Trying to think.
I think Bears-Browns, I might do the over-under personally.
No, I wouldn't.
You would?
I like
wouldn't?
their under.
Even though you should, I said over-under. I didn't say over or under. I said
I'm sorry. I thought you said you're taking the over.
No.
I like the under a lot.
All right, 37.
I like that under.
All right. That's going to be our bet for today.
I hope someone takes my advice. Let's have a day, boys. Let's have a fucking day.
All right. Place my prop bets in. I place my money over under. All right.
Let's have a day, boys.
All right. I guess is that it for the betting segment?
Yes, it is.
All right. Luca, headline us with some final thoughts and some optimism for the Jets.
I'm not fucking headlining shit with optimism for this stupid football.
I knew it.
I said anytime he was going to pull that shit, I was going to remove him. So he knows the consequences.
Oh,
anyways.
Go off, Luca.
Enough about the Jets. I'm not going to talk about them. I'm just going to watch and sit in silence.
With candle lights and no lights.
Sitting in silence. That's horrible.
But yeah, I'm not going to have any reaction. But anyways, a lot of football obviously we covered. Prop bets, good advice from John. Fantasy advice, good from John. I don't really. I mean, I'm not saying I'm guaranteed. I'm favored to win one matchup in one of my fantasy leagues in playoffs. The more critical league, which is John's league, I have a bye, so that's good. But we thank John as always for his betting and fantasy advice, which I've taken to heart. But I hope everybody enjoyed this. Show. I mean, this is our last Rise and Rush of the 2023 calendar year.
Thank you, Armand. John?
Oh, you know what, guys? What have we learned today? Some excellent fantasy and betting advice. We had some good previews, but guys, just remember, never drink and drive.
Never drink and drive, folks. Don't drink and drive.
That's right. But guys, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,700 for y'all, all right? We're also got some Mets and Yankees content coming your way and already coming out over the past 2 days. So go check out his video again on Jordan Hicks. Go check out my video on Steve Cohen, okay? We need those guys to blow up. Not literally, but the videos to blow up. But again, also, if anyone saw those UFC fights yesterday, pretty good.
With Colby Covington?
Yeah, that wasn't even the best knockout. There was another fight in the stands with 2 UFC.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So
it's pretty wild. But as John may have touched on, we have a call-in show tonight at 8:30. So if you guys want to swing by, you want to call in, you want to just ask questions and be there because we're there, go ahead, man. I mean, this is the last call-in show of the season. And then tomorrow we got more content coming out through our live streaming breaks. So don't think we're not gonna put out content. But tomorrow, Boys in the Big Apple live stream featuring sports talk, end of the year moments video, end of the year recap, and also as well a big announcement coming at around 8:30. Thank you, Coach Ed. Tune in and watch my punishment. So you think that the Jets are going to win? Okay, Armin. There we go, Armin. See, But overall, though, we appreciate you guys on Twitter. We appreciate you guys on YouTube, wherever you're watching. And have a good rest of your Sunday. Peace out.